A Paradise Lost. Let's go back many thousands of years ago. And at that time, mankind walked the earth in the form of male and female. Now, everyone initially has instincts, then they have urges, and those urges turn into wants, and then so forth and so forth. And these people start developing ideas, and then they figure out how to implement those ideas for purposes of survival. Like they might figure out how to beat two stones together and make some fire. They would eventually figure out how to wool some things together to make a hut for purposes of having shelter. And they even would figure out how to wool some linen together to provide clothing for themselves. And so everything they did made sense, and it went in accord with the way they were supposed to behave and live at that particular time. Now, every now and then there might be someone, male or female, who acted outside of the norm, in which many would deem strange and odd. And we would call it crazy. We would call it insane. And no one could figure out why those people behaved like that. But they were so fewer. And it was rare at that time because they didn't have the things around then that would drive someone crazy like they would when you skip ahead many thousands of years later. And let's do that. So let's come into the modern age of civilization, where there are many who are deemed to be mentally unstable, crazy, or insane. But how did that happen? Well, life drives you crazy. Life makes you crazy. The improper conditioning of a mindset could result in you becoming crazy. Yes, making the wrong decisions and being around the wrong people will eventually lead you down that road too, but there are certainly contradictions in life that will drive people crazy. And specifically in the modern civilized era, which is the here and now. For example, we have types of goods, we have types of bads, we have things that are good for you, and you have things that are good to you. You have things that are bad for you, and you have things that are bad to you. For example, drugs are bad for you, but they are good to you, as well as being bad for you, but they are, so one could get good out of that, and it's confusion there. And many use drugs and have used drugs. Another thing, there are laws for doing the wrong things which are bad, and those bads are immorally wrong and unrighteous. But there are bad things that aren't deemed morally wrong, such as smoking a cigarette or smoking many cigarettes. or having sex frequently, because those are choices that we make, and if they do not harm anyone else, then it is left up to everyone to decide what they would want to do or what they wouldn't want to do. But nevertheless, it's confusion. Things are confusing, and children are conditioned with that particular mindset, such as if they're kids, their parents will tell them, don't smoke cigarettes, that's bad for you. But it's not illegal. And then they can say at the same time, hey, do not use hard street drugs because it's bad for you. And those are illegal. So the cigarettes are bad for those kids, but they're not illegal. But these street drugs are bad for the kids, and they are illegal. The cigarettes are legal. The hard street drugs are illegal, but both of them are wrong for kids, and kids should not do them. So it's a bit of confusion there. And then when the kids see the adults smoke cigarettes, and they might say, why are they using cigarettes? Why are they smoking? My mommy and daddy said that those things are bad for me, so they must mean that they are bad for them too. But they are legal. Then a parent will say something like, but that's an adult. Once you get of legal age, you can make the decision to do what you want. So if that child comes to legal age, you think that they're just going to do one form of bad rather than doing another form of bad. And you think they care whether something is illegal or just morally incorrect. Because all those things, or that way of teaching, would definitely contradict bad, the whole notion of bad. So there are things that are good to you and good for you at the same time. There are things that are bad for you and bad to you, and there's things that are bad for you but good to you. So all that is confusing. It drives you crazy, because when you try to make sense out of it and figure it out, you can't make any sense out of it. Because you're like, hey, well, I'm an adult, so I'm gonna do whatever I want, and then the law or certain people are going to say, but you're doing all the wrong things, all the bad things that are illegal, when you're just supposed to be doing all the bad things that are just morally wrong, but still legal. You see where I'm coming from? Then a guy and a gal might sit down, and they might try to make sense of things, and they might think about it like, wait a minute, I don't think that I was conditioned right, because none of these things, or a lot of these things I was taught, do not make sense. I know some of the things that I was taught does make sense, like respect people's rights and their privacy and their possessions, and do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. But a lot of the other stuff that doesn't seem to make sense at all, or I can make little sense out of it. But maybe it's because this isn't no longer a paradise, because that very notion and thing, which is paradise, has been lost. Thanks for tuning in.